Welcome to Big Iron with Max Prasic. On this episode of Big Iron, we wrap up our Texas road trip going after an exotic deer called the Sika. I hear these guys like to run. Well, so do we, but probably not as much. I've always been intrigued with harnessing power, just being able to tame something that is seemingly untamable. For me, the essence of handgun hunting is getting close, getting in that uncomfortable personal space. It's visceral and life-altering. Every breath and every move matters. An activity and lifestyle that is difficult to master, and while not for everyone, is rewarding for the individual willing to accept the challenge. Welcome to Big Iron. After wrapping up a successful hunt in Eden, we headed south to Hondo. It's time for the exotic portion of the 50 cal road trip. Texas is a very unique place from a standpoint of exotic species of animals available to hunt, and this place is no exception. Since this kind of the theme of this trip was deer, they have fallow deer, axis deer, and they have Sika deer, and Sika was what we were after. It's a species from Asia. So if you are in the market for some exotic species of deer, this is a great place to go. But it's not limited to just deer species. I mean, you can literally find anything in Texas. Day one of our hunt here in Hondo, it was 22 degrees, pretty chilly. But we wanted to get out as early as possible to stalk and close with some Sika deer. Usually by the third, fourth day, I'm starting to feel tired. Skittish. That's the big young one right there? Oh yeah. Come on, get over here. Look at her. You tell me these things aren't ready to rumble? Look at her, look at her, look at her, look at her. Get out. Yeah, I want to see what happens. Oh, you wuss. Oh no, she's circling back. Yeah, that doesn't mean she's not gonna be a. We're here to hunt Sika deer, but if they're too skittish and we don't pull this off, we may switch our focus to one of the smaller water buffalo. See, this one I would have no problem with, the bigger one. It's easier to pick one out now and confirm it with the outfitter than to do it on the fly when the animals are being hunted and start running. That way you don't get stuck with a big bill. In Eden, I used my BFR and 500 Smith & Wesson, but I decided when we came to Hondo, I would switch up and do something a little different. But to stay on the theme, we used again a 50 caliber, and we're using a 500 line ball here in Hondo. I also used a BFR with a 5.5-inch barrel and 500 line ball with a Bisley grip frame, and I had that loaded with 350 grain jacketed hollow point loads from Buffalo Boar. Or something for a rest. I have to with the scope. I'm not comfortable. Okay. They're running already. Let's go in. set up.
You may have heard me say, I'll use a tree for a rest. It seems like a continuing theme with me, but I'm not quite comfortable without one. I'm still not at that point where I can operate a scope like I can a red dot, and sometimes I wonder if I ever will.
Let's move up a little bit more. This is an open area. This is probably pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. They're gonna drive them back this way. So maybe we should just set up so that when they come around, we can ambush them. Where did they go? I can't get a better view from here. I just want to move up a little farther. Where did they go? Where did they go? Where did they go? Damn.
Well, we saw nothing. Brown, blurry, and inclined to run. These psycho were going to be a challenge. So we headed back to the truck to begin a new spot and stock.
Look at her, look at her, look at her, look at her. She's got attitude.
Or maybe we switch gears and take aim at one of these moody water buffalo. After the break, we keep up the pressure on the psycho and try to get a clear shot in this dense Texas brush. Big Iron is brought to you by Magnum Research, makers of the BFR, the biggest, finest revolver, and Buffalo Bore ammunition. Strictly business. Welcome back to Big Iron and part 2 of our Texas road trip. We're still trying to spot and stalk these beautiful cyca deer. Turns out the high fences aren't really helping us much.
They're gone. We actually got on a couple, but the problem was they were working as a pair, 2 bucks. So we stalked them and stalked them and stalked them and chased them and chased them and stalked them some more. And they seemed to play off of each other. One ran, the other one followed him. And then they amped each other up and they kept running and kept running. We would have liked to have been able to isolate them, but we couldn't do that, obviously. We were really worked for it. But that kind of blows this theory of these high fence operations as being just a gimme.
These animals know when they're being hunted, and it's obvious this bison couldn't care less. And then there are other animals, like these blackbuck, that are always switched on and always on the move.
Okay, let's just get kind of see if we can drive up on him. There he is, to the left. There's another one. There are 2 there. Still one here. Gotta get him alone. Gotta get him alone.
Yeah.
This is good.
The problem is it's pretty thick up in here. We just gotta find spooky bastards.
But they're in there. We gotta get a little closer to them at some stage.
Oh man. He took off and then he stopped at the end. There you go.
Yeah,
Right there. Yeah.
He's running. I'm not taking a shot now. Stop. A little bit more. Stop. Should I try to walk up to this tree? No, he's gone. He just ran. Well, after a full day of chasing these animals around this property, we ended up going empty-handed at the end of the day, but we have the next day to try to make up for our shortcomings. But again, they weren't cooperating, they weren't standing still, they weren't chained to a tree, but that's the impression a lot of people have about these operations, but that's not the case. We actually worked pretty hard for this.
Coming up,
I'm ready.
we change hardware and pace and slide into the 5th annual Bovine Bash. Stay with us.
Well, day 2, we decided to switch gears. It hadn't met with any success with the Psycha, but we didn't ditch the plan of getting a Psycha. We just put that on the back burner, and I switched guns and went back to my 500 Smith & Wesson, but this time I resighted it in for Buffalo Bore's new dangerous game line of ammunition, which is shooting a 400 grain Lehigh flat-nosed solid copper bullet, which is better suited for large and dangerous game. There seemed to be 2 alphas in the group. One was a large bull, mature, and there was a cow as well, but she seems to be the most aggressive of them. These 2 animals were clearly the leaders of the pack, and I think the cow more so than the bull. Makes sense, doesn't it? As soon as they felt there was some danger near, they'd get the group running. So they were clearly leading the pack. Had we been able to separate them, that would have been better, but that was a tall order. Hey, Mark?
Yeah.
Can you provide backup, please?
Yes, if you don't mind, I do want to do a boat test with this one too.
Oh, yeah.
Go right here.
There's too much around him. I'm afraid it's going to go through it.
Which one are you going to go?
This one is ours.
There you go.
I want to get a rest, Mark. I'm not confident with this thing. They're leaving the county?
Yep.
But they're moseying. They're not doing the second tier thing.
While the Bovine Bash isn't really hunting, it's not a gimme either. And water buffalo can present a challenge for any number of reasons. The dark color makes defining detail for shot placement difficult, especially in the shaded trees they're taking refuge in. Plus, they're feeling the pressure of our pursuit, making identification of our buffalo difficult as they swap positions in the herd. We're trying to anticipate their movement to get in front of them and position ourselves so that they pass in front of us without detecting us.
It's the back one.
I didn't take that shot because I'm testing a dangerous game load by buffalo boar and really want a broadside shot, precluding that opportunity.
They're about ready to go.
And of course, they left. As I mentioned earlier, I'm using a Magnum Research BFR and 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum, while my friend and backup Mark is also using a Magnum Research BFR, but his is in 460 Smith & Wesson Magnum, and is stoked with swift A-frames at more than 2,000 feet per second.
Can't misidentify them. There they are. We gotta get them to push them this way.
I will. You want me to go?
Yeah.
Set up on the road. I'm going to push.
Okay. Okay. I'm ready. Apparently this group hadn't been hunted before, but they were still, on their game. They were watching us, their noses work really well, and they weren't having any of our shenanigans. We could push them back this way, it'd be awesome. It's not always as easy as people think it is, and this was proving to be not that easy.
When we return, we finally get a clear shot on our running buffalo. We'll be right back. Big Iron is brought to you by Magnum Research, makers of the BFR, the biggest, finest revolver, and Buffalo Bore ammunition. Strictly business. Welcome back to the conclusion of our 50 caliber Texas road trip. Let's get back in the field as we try to get a beat on that buffalo.
Day 2 was in the 40s this time. It was a lot more comfortable as far as the weather was concerned. So we got on this group of water buffalo, but we kept bumping them, and we kept stalking them, bumping them, stalking them. I used scopes on both of my revolvers this weekend, which is atypical for me. I'm a red dot guy. It's a little more difficult for me because you have that long eye relief. It's really tough. But once you get used to it, they start working better. Still prefer a scope for like up in a stand or a ground blind, and I like a red dot more for stalking. But I decided to give it a go.
That one right there. Okay, we just need to head them off. Let's go down this way and try to cut them off. Don't want to spook them too much. They're hanging, but they're coming this way, but they're ambling. We're not freaking them out yet. So we need to get to a point where we can kind of... There's a road right here. Where'd they go? Entry I can use. Just gotta get an opening here. Here, give me those. I wasn't set up for that. Those two are still in the back.
Oh, they're always going to follow. So
Our strategy is actually quite simple. We would send Mark and the truck out to try to get in front of the group of buffalo and push them back our way, where we would be set up in an ambush and hopefully get off a well-placed shot. Well, hope in one hand and, well, you know the rest.
Oh yeah, that's stable. Heading this way. Let's hope they slow down when they get here. Oh, this is good. Gotta identify her. Which one is she? At the back. They smelled us, and I think they saw you. That was perfect.
We got so close. At least part of the plan is working. Mark and the truck definitely have more of their attention than us. But we still have to close with them.
okay, here they come.
Oh, this is gonna be tough. This was a good ambush site. I've never had this much trouble getting on these water buffalo before. They're really spooky, but apparently they haven't been hunted. But this is one of these situations where people say, "Oh, it's high fence hunting operation, da 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 da." But we're here bullet testing. This is not a hunt. I'm not trying to sell this as a hunt either. However, I'll say this: we've had to hunt them, and it's been tough going. Give me these things.
Not quite sure why I carried the shooting sticks around all day. The way these buffalo were running, I'd be better off taking a shot offhand. And it never fails. You spend your time seeking an adequate rest and end up with an offhand shot.
Stop running, motherfucker. I'm gonna put a finisher in her.
Oh yeah, you got a nice running neck shot there.
Yeah.
You okay with me shooting a 460 through him?
Yeah. Yeah, that thing hits with thump too.
Just a different level of shit, man.
No, it just dumps. 500 Smith is my new favorite again.
Yeah. Look at the size of the hole going in.
After it was done, as is typical of our practice here in Hondo for the bovine bash, we shot the carcass for penetration testing and also to measure damage. I shot it with the 500 Smith & Wesson, again with the dangerous game load, and it went through both shoulders, exited and landed behind the buffalo on the ground. We could see it laying there. It goes to show that this thing's got plenty of horsepower and plenty of penetrative capability. It was perfect. Texas, go big or go home. We worked harder than I thought we would, but that's okay. I don't mind. Really don't mind. I like to hunt, and I like to hunt hard. 50 calibers were used. I did that on purpose. I wanted to use the big calibers on these to show people that not only are they effective on really big animals, but even on deer, they actually work really well, especially if you have a really good expanding bullet. They put a big hole in things. They stop animals pretty quickly if you hit them right. Some people don't think this is hunting, but it proved to be hunting this weekend.
And remember, it's just like bow hunting, but louder.